This is Lance and Roar, the voice of the fans. Coming up, Keano has his say on the FAI, plus Carlsey's good fair for England, and the sports minister wants to be fair with funding to the FAI and other sports, of course. This is Lance and Roar. How's it going? You are very welcome to another episode of Lance and Roar. David Dunn here, joined by Martin Prendergast. And as always, if you like what you see, you love what you hear, scan that QR code, head over to our Facebook, Instagram, and our Twitter account. And if you want opinion, head over to lansandroar.ie. That is lansandroar.ie. And if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you very much. Hit the subscribe button. You know you want to. We're trying to grow. We're trying to get to 1,000 followers on YouTube. We're not too far away from it, Martin, are we? We're quite close, actually. We're in the 50s. A bit like you.
Jesus, hard hitting straight away, Dave. What a welcome. Back from holiday, Dave, and you're just digging me out straight away. No, we are very appreciative of your support, especially on the YouTube channel. Some great content on there. And, I know I've harped on about this before, Dave, and this is going to be shots fired, but nice to see our exclusive interview with Liam Brady still doing well there as well. Not everyone gets them.
Not everyone gets an interview with Liam Brady, no. Doesn't just speak to anyone, Martin.
No. So, we do have the ins there with him, with Risk London, of course. But no, really do appreciate your support. And it has been a quiet time for Irish football. As we know, holiday season, football isn't back. Domestic football's been going, hasn't it, Dave? You corrected me earlier when I was chatting about it.
Since February, yeah. We don't want to faux pas.
Yeah, but we are looking forward to, obviously, the start of the Premier League season, seeing how some of the lads who are doing very well with our senior squad will get on after some moves and things like that. So, and we obviously covered the championship as well. So it's good now because it's gearing up towards this 7th of September, which I know we're going to come on and talk about, because it's just all building towards that and seeing how the new reign of our manager Heimer is going to commence.
Yeah, it's all a bit up in the air, that, isn't it? We still don't know his backroom staff. I think the squad won't be announced till about the 24th of August. Thereabouts. We're going to get that confirmed. Obviously, we'll try and be live for that, Martin, as well, when the squad is revealed. So nothing confirmed there, but a couple of things have been confirmed. Actually, speaking of this game, the kickoff time has been confirmed for a 5 o'clock kickoff, Martin.
Yep.
In Dublin. I know our good friend James Agnew, who writes some excellent articles, by the way, over at lansandroar.ie. James Agnew. He wasn't going anywhere, was he? He says, I'm not booking a train until they confirm the time, because he's got to travel all the way down from Ulster, isn't he? He's an Ulster man. But yes, they have confirmed it. Sorry, that's an old graphic there, but they have confirmed it. It's a 5 o'clock kickoff on the 7th of September. Get your tickets. We will put the link for the tickets in this video. We'll also put the link for the Liam Brady interview in this as well, Martin, and at the end of it. What do you reckon? Because not everyone gets those.
No, definitely. Get that out there. I mean, it was recorded back in November, but some great insight from Liam into his career, and
yes,
it was good. And we've obviously caught up with him recently as well. So good friend of the pod, and
he is a good friend of the pod. I do like Liam. He was out in the Lash, did you see, with Ray Parlour in Dublin?
Yeah, because that was the event that he was covering in. He did some live events in Cork and Dublin. So yeah, I think they did very well over there. Ray Parlour, Paul Merson as well. But yeah, Ray certainly loves the social, and it was quite good. I think Liam kind of likes doing them videos, and not too much, to be honest. I don't think he's quite funny.
I think he kind of wonders what it's all about a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, very much.
When you speak to, first time I ever met Liam Brady was during the international window. I think it was before his last game for RTE, and I caught him on the bench sitting down by the Disney store in Grafton Street. And he's like, yeah, just waiting for the family. And they're in Disneyland around the corner, and I'm not really into that. I was like, okay. I don't think you're into a lot. I like him. He's a good lad. Still don't know at this moment in time who is going to be part of the Irish backroom staff. That I'm sure will come together over the next few days. But what we do know, Martin, is that, well, who's going to be in charge of England come the 7th of September. And also, we are going to have an Irishman in the dugout, but it's going to be in the away dugout. It was confirmed a couple of days ago. Lee Carsley, there he is there. He has been confirmed. It was rumored for quite a while. He has been confirmed as the new Interim England boss. Here's what the FA had to say on it. Let me get my notes up. Lee Carsley has been appointed interim head coach of England senior men ahead of the start of the 24-25 UEFA Nations League campaign. Carlsey will step up from his role in charge of the under-21s initially for September's fixtures away to the Republic of Ireland and at home to Finland, but with a view to remaining in a position throughout the autumn while the FA's recruitment process for a new permanent head coach continues. The 50-year-old has been the under-21 head coach since July 21 and last year led the Young Lions to a first UEFA under-21 European Championship since 1984. Prior to that, Carlsey held various coaching roles across English development teams and was briefly in charge of the under-20s. The respected coach was involved at the last three major tournaments by supporting the wider technical team at UEFA Euro 2020, 22 World Cup in Qatar, and the Euros just gone in Germany. Carlsey has also extensive experience at club level, having worked closely with the first team of Coventry, Sheffield United, Brentford, Man City, and Birmingham. As a player, as we know, he's Birmingham. He's a Brum. He's Birmingham born. He made 340 top flight appearances and won 40 caps for the Republic of Ireland, including playing at the World Cup in 2002. This is what Carlsey had to say about it. It's an honour to step up and lead this England squad on an interim basis. And as I'm very familiar with the players and the cycle of international football, it makes sense for me to guide the team while the FA continues the process to recruit a new manager. My main priority is to ensure continuity, and our goal is to secure promotion in the UEFA Nations League. Mark Bullingham, the FA CEO, said Lee's a fantastic coach who is well known to the majority of our current squad, and having worked with most at international club level, he offers us a very strong interim solution, and we are very confident he will perform well in the UEFA Nations League games ahead. We are grateful to Lee for stepping up to manage the team while we continue with our recruitment process. And Ben Futcher will take over the under-21s. Oh, bit of a mouthful there, Martin. So just initial thoughts on that, and then we'll get the thoughts of someone else. Yeah, so I mean, it was touted for some time, but it's still a bit mad, isn't it? It's a bit jarring that you're going to have an Irishman in charge of the English team and an Icelandic fella in charge of the Irish team.
Yeah, that is obviously one kind of part of this, but I'm not surprised that he's been given the opportunity with England at all. Very respected coach. I like the fact he's kind of gone down, worked in the background at all the levels, and done his badges and kind of been under the radar. And it's probably a missed opportunity looking back. And I know we've spoken about this before, but you know, Lee Carsley and Kevin Kilban offered their services to the FAI many years ago and weren't kind of deemed required. And subsequently, this guy's gone on and done very, very well. Won an international tournament under 21, and it's highly respected. And you know, all I would say is like where Ireland do lead is in this interim post. England have followed us now with that label. You know, and obviously the process, and that seems to be this kind of buzzword in football now, isn't it? We need to follow a process of appointing people and looking at things and reflective, and that obviously justifies interim CEOs roles or director of football's roles at football. So I'm not surprised this at all, but kind of disappointed still. I mean, look, Heimer, I don't believe was our first choice, but that's fine. I'm going to get behind him anyway. And we have to move on. And, you know, I'm going to be very positive about Irish football and seeing what we can do, because we did have that wasted opportunity where Stephen Kenny was in the job far too long in the end. And we didn't make changes and we didn't make them quick enough. Although, let's be fair, put our hands up as well. We were very supportive of Stephen Kenny, and, you know, we did kind of keep the faith probably longer than we should have. So, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what Heimer does. But, you know, Lee Carsley, I think, was my first choice as well. And we didn't get him. And I can understand why not, because we are in a bit of a mess still financially. We're behind as well, as we know. And England are quite organised, and he's going to have that continuity from the under-21 success going through the levels. Spain have just done it at the Euros, winning that with a manager who's not really well known and has just come through the underage level. And that's perhaps something that's kind of setting little alarm bells in my head, is if we do want John O'Shea to get experience for the future as part of a process, perhaps, I don't know, I know it's probably revolutionary this saying this, but do we need to kind of consider that John O'Shea should be looking at getting the under-19 job, then going to the under-21s and looking that within the pathway, rather than bringing him in now because he's jumped ahead of Jim Crawford now? Or are they quite happy, the FAI, kind of settling in with Jim Crawford's going to be there? it's going to be Jim Crawford will never be the senior manager. He doesn't have the aspirations perhaps to do
See,
that. So that sets questions with me on that.
there's a lot of questions. I mean,
Mm.
and you make a good point there. I think the best path for me would be John O'Shea, assistant, take over, and then
Yeah.
have the under-21s coach take over from O'Shea and try to do it that way, the Liverpool way, as they used to do back in the day. I mean, there's a few questions here. Like, so he's interim manager. Is this an audition, or do they have somebody in mind? There's rumors that Pep, there's a few rumors going around that they want Pep Guardiola, and he'd be quite open to that because considering to what he's used to, would be quite part-time, as opposed to a club manager day-to-day, especially one with Man City, like Man City. The next after these matches, the international window, of course, finishes on the 19th of November, 11th to the 19th of November. And I believe he's going to be in charge, Carlsey is, of the entire Nations League. That's what I got from that. I could be wrong now, but I don't think they're going to announce anything. But I'm thinking the next group of games next year is the week of the 17th to the 25th of March next year. So could it be a case of they might get a pre-contract clause in place with Pep? You know the way they sometimes do that. Or, I imagine they're going to be qualifiers because you got the World Cup coming next. There won't be many friendlies next year because that's all going to be World Cup qualification, isn't it? That entire 2025 international calendar. So is he in the shop window, so to speak, or is he just keeping it warm for Pep?
I think I'll be honest. I think Pep's that's not going to ever happen. I don't think Pep will take the England job. No, I don't think so. I think it'll be massive money to do it. And I don't think
if I
was. No, I know that, but I'd be thinking if I was Pep, why am I going to do it? Like it's totally going to be a different setup for him. He's got his own control at Man City of his backroom staff, massive backroom staff, as we know from when they celebrate their title wins with their all their charges. They've got as many backroom staff as they do charges against the Man City. But when they do win these things, they're all out on the pitch. I don't think he'd have that control within England. I think the scrutiny of the press as well will be a little bit, it's fine to come in and do that. They're going to qualify all the time, England. I think they want to have this continuity within the FA pathway, like Ireland trying to do, ironically. And that I think it will be Carlsey. I think he will get the job. I think if you look back even on Southgate got it after Allardyce was sacked in with a fantastic record, of course. But
1-1.
1-1 and only in the lead for 2 minutes or something. So they they will trust their pathway, the English FA. They don't need to go with these big name managers and pay a fortune for stuff because I think they're trusting their players.
Yeah.
And I think they will trust that this guy has got international experience of winning. And
I don't know.
They're always going to be qualifying for tournament football, but they're a little bit different to us. We're trying to qualify for tournaments. England will always qualify. So it's what they perform at the very, very highest level when the pressure's on.
I get what you're saying. I think Pep would be mad to take the job. I think he'd be mad to take the job because a coach like Pep, he's a coach. He's not a manager. He's a coach. And there's a big difference. Like Klopp, mad to take the job at England. I'm not saying that's not going to happen, by the way. I just think to be mad. Pep took him a good full season to get to grips with Man City, to get to grips with English football. And he made a few decisions at the time where people were like, it's ridiculous. How can you get rid of Joe Hart? He's England's number one. And then he brought in Ederson and, a ball-playing goalkeeper who can actually save the ball as well. Things like that. He has to be there day to day. It was a slow process with him to lay the foundations to what he wanted. And then everything just went boom. And now we're seeing the dominance because of that groundwork. You cannot do that in an international job. You have to be with the players day in, day out. He won't be with the players day in, day out. I think if he does get the job with the FA, I mean, money isn't an issue here. Let's be honest. It's the FA. I think you'll have major clashes with the FA because he'll be the guy like Sven-Göran Eriksson. He'll be wanting the players to meet up and have training sessions like once a month, this kind of thing. He'll be wanting to do things like that, which I understand as well. I just don't think it will suit him. He needs to be there day to day to get his message across. Like Klopp, it's coaching. It took Klopp a full season. It took him a bit longer actually to really get the message across because he didn't have the players that City had. Let's be honest, but he got the message across, and I just don't think that translates very well into international management. But on the other hand, yeah, it does make sense to give it to Carsley. However, I think what we saw with Gareth Southgate, and look, I know he got into the final, but they had the easiest route to the final you could possibly imagine. They were seconds from going out to Slovakia. That was a simple route to the final. Maybe Netherlands, was a bit tricky, but anyway. And I think what we saw there, that the England players, when Gareth Southgate took over the England job, the England team were kind of on their knees, and he brought in those young players, and they looked up to him. And now some of those young players are big stars, very big stars. And we've seen with one of them, I won't name them, but we're sort of getting into arsehole territory now with some of these guys. They're big names now. They're products. They are literally just marketing machines. And how does somebody who comes from a youth setup deal with that sort of ego? And we saw it spill over with the England team. And I think they're heading back to what Gareth Southgate brought to the England team, was galvanizing those young players, turning them into a team, making them media friendly. The media didn't have the knives out for them. They're actually speaking to the media. They trusted the media, and the media reciprocated, to be fair to them. But now we're starting to see like the what's the word I'm looking for? Just the big players, just a big sort of egos.
They're changing a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think where
Who's going to challenge
where they will get called out though, is by the modern media, because I think that's what we did see at the Euro. It's quite fascinating. I mean, look,
yeah, but they don't take responsibility, Martin, though, do they? Because
yeah, but people listen to this and go, "Why are you talking so much about this?" But this is relevant to Irish players as well. Like we want to be at that level. We're not. And I've always said about how accessible Irish players are and how they engage with the fans and things like that. Very important, of course.
They've always been good lads, the Irish.
Game. Yeah, it's the profile of the game. But like, let's not be, we've got the odd arsehole in our squad as well, without doubt. So that just happens. That's modern footballers who are just indulged and stuff, and how they behave and things. That's always going to happen. But I do think though that it kind of comes back to the modern media and how they interpret it, because there was definitely a switch there with Southgate. Definitely got the media on board and let's all work together, and it will be harmonious, supporting English football and promoting it and getting the fans behind it, especially engaging. I think with youth in England, they did that very well. Like young people knew who the England team were and it's coming home and all that kind of stuff. Even for this whole tenure, they really did galvanize everyone like that, and they've had some fantastic events and finals and things, just where the whole country got behind them. That's what I certainly miss with Ireland. But the media definitely at the most recent tournament, they were told, weren't they? They were a bit more scathing, a bit critical. The fans started to turn in the stadium, throwing beer cups and things like that. Southgate took the brunt of that, and I knew then he was going to go. And fair play how he managed that. I think he's a very intelligent guy.
Class.
He did so.
That was class.
Then the media were told that you've got to soften this and be a bit more supportive, and then you just saw this switch. And I'm talking about like the likes of Ian Wright, Roy Keane, a little bit more, Gary Neville, Lineker, Shearer, Micah Richards, all that kind of stuff. But it's just interesting. You see that these modern media pundits, and then we're going to come on and talk about that in a minute, of course. But like the likes of Rio Ferdinand is on a podcast, then he's on BBC, then he's on something else. He's got his own media branding thing. They're very important. They're very persuasive in what they say, and it's like it's akin to picking up the paper that no one ever likes to read, and getting an opinion of someone, and then you're appealing to the common base level, right, of people in England, and you're saying, this is my opinion. They're reading that, and that becomes their opinion. When Rio speaks, or Micah Richards speaks, or Roy Keane speaks in Ireland, a lot of people who can't be bothered to look into the facts of everything do form their opinions based on that. Like Rio's going to be very important. Like I will know, like Bellingham, it's a weird thing. It came out a little bit when the Athletic, didn't it? How he's a site outside of the group, he's this and that. They were surprised at him doing the Adidas commercial, because that's not really his personality within the group. It was a bit of a interesting kind of breakaway from, there's always a fallout from tournaments, not just from Ireland, but it was interesting to see that. But now there'll be a PR spin on that. Like he'll show his personality. Rio will probably be interviewing him. These guys, the pundits, have a big part to play, and then they can't be as impartial. That's the thing, and that's even what we've spoken about with Irish football. To bring it back to that, we used to have, when Stephen Kenny was there, you definitely had a pro Kenny view and an anti Kenny view, and a lot of that was linked to the people who didn't want Mick to go, or were Mick's men.
Yeah, they played under Mick.
They didn't like Kenny. That's a
Yeah.
fact of it. You look at McAteer, didn't ever want Kenny to succeed.
Yeah. No. I mean, I agree with you there. People base their opinions on what pundits say, and they don't actually look at it for themselves. It's just the way the modern world. Probably not even the modern world, to be honest. But I just think Carlsey will struggle there, and he might look at that, and that's probably the only thing going against it. Now, if he goes in there and he gets 100% record, then I reckon they'll give him the job. But if he struggles, they won't give it to
they
him.
will. They won't lose. All right. We want Ireland to do well against England, but
We have to be realistic. We got to be realistic.
Yeah, and they're
Right.
what they're doing is rebuilding now. They'll want to make a few shuffle changes. It's not hard. They're European finalists, but they're not far away.
It's up in the air. That game is up in the air. It's not a slam dunk as it was previously. It's not totally up in the air, but it's not a slam dunk as previously we thought.
No one's moved on from that squad. He's not got to rebuild a squad. Like we have got like the job that Heimer's doing now. He and even Stephen Kenny did. He had to move people out of the squad. I don't think Carlsey really has to do that with England. There's no one.
No, he said he's going to go with continuity, and so you don't know. I mean, maybe it won't. Maybe you just put me down, Martin.
No, but just back to John O'Shea. So when John O'Shea came in, we said he picked a very, very safe squad because he knew what he was going to get, and it wasn't his job to end the career. This is what we said in the previous episode, which are all available, of course. But obviously, remember the context of them when we're doing a preview for a match. But where we're talking about, he brought Shane Duffy back in, and he brought players back into the squad who we were thinking won't play for Ireland again, like Robbie Brady. It wasn't his job.
Yeah, he's not going to end the career of anybody. But there's no need to do that with England. To be fair, I mean,
there isn't anyone though. There's no one old, is there?
No. Southgate did that, didn't he? Like Henderson and Maguire. He might bring Maguire back in. That could be. It depends how Maguire's doing, I suppose, for United. But I mean, it's all fascinating. But that will be the 7th of September. We're actually next subject we're gonna talk about is actually the same subject, but a different take.
The most respected pundit in the game.
Me.
Your favourite.
Me. Yes, Roy Keane, the man who doesn't want to be a pundit but is everywhere. He doesn't like doing podcasts, but he's everywhere on podcasts. And here he is, Roy Keane there in Old Trafford. That's the wrong photograph, but anyway, but there he is. Yes, he was doing punditry work for the Charity Shield. I'm not calling it the other thing, between Man City and Man United, which City won on penalties. And he had his say on the Lee Carsley appointment. We didn't have any audio with this actually, so just have to go with quotes. But he basically says that his former Ireland teammate deserves his chance. Deserves this chance for his work with England underage sides. He obviously lacks experience, says Keane. He hasn't managed that long. He's worked at international level. And good luck to him. I played with Lee. He's a nice lad. He's got this opportunity, and let's see if he can go take it. My experience with him, he was a quiet lad. He had a very, very good career. He's gone and done the hard yards with his coaching at underage levels and had lots of different roles. The key for lots of managers like Gareth, when he got the England job, is the timing. It's just opened up for him now, and he sees it. Let's see how he goes. In the games coming up, you'd fully expect England to win most of those games, so he's in prime position to get the job. Asked then about Carsley's link with the Ireland job, he says, apparently they wanted everybody. They didn't know what they wanted. Maybe that's one of the reasons he turned the Irish job down. Maybe he was told a few months ago, you've got a chance for England. He also wished Hallgrimsson well in the Ireland job. Good luck to both of them, says Keano. Bet you were loving all that, Martin, weren't you? So there you go. Keane reckons, Carlsey's in a prime position. Obviously, we won't go over that because we've just spoken about that in great length. But he reckons he's in prime position to get it. He's also had a dig there, the FAI, of course, because, they sacked his mate Martin and him. And basically said that the FA didn't know who he wanted. I mean, I don't think he's exactly incorrect there, though. I think, I'm not having, and you're not having, the FAI trying to set, but they were, I don't know if they said it, but they were trying to kind of put a bit of a spin on it. I thought that, oh yeah, this was our first guy. No, we're not having that. Because obviously they approached Carlsey in November and he didn't want it. And yeah, it's just,
well, it's interesting. I don't know. Like Roy did speak to them, as Gary Neville alluded to.
To be interim manager, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean,
Oh, you just
It's
want
like it's an
Roy so bad,
but
man,
it's an
don't you?
interim within to being the full manager as well, isn't it? Really, if you're going in interim and you take that job,
Well,
unless you're an older kind of person and think I'll hold the reins here, that's what used to be an interim, wasn't it?
what
Like
the story?
it was
The story I
yeah. Who do
heard.
we used to go for? Noel King
Yeah.
was always our interim.
The story that we both heard, and we don't know if it's true now, but the story goes, and this, I'm not saying this is fact, but it's just what we heard. Is that Roy Keane was approached for the interim Ireland job. Now he had talks with him. We know that he's admitted that. Gary Neville has come out and said that as well. But apparently it was the interim gig that John O'Shea took, and he said no, absolutely not. That's what we were told. I don't know how true that is. That's the rumor doing the rounds.
Yeah.
So, but look, I mean, we got Halgram now, and they've gone down the more kind of pragmatic coaching route. So best of luck to him. But
with High Meadow getting the backroom staff that the FAI are gonna put to him, basically, that's that. I don't like using the phrase ticket, but it has been coined on here.
coaching
before.
ticket, the project.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's too American for me and
what
political.
what did you make of like? I've been catching up a bit with the Stick to Football podcast, which I've kind of gone off a bit because it's just a bit of an old boys club. Like Rooney's on it. I saw Rooney had a fantastic league debut with Plymouth 4-0 hammering by Sheffield. It's terrible. Well, we know why he's getting these jobs. Like, do you remember when he was on that actually, Rooney, and he was and this is my problem with Stick to Football because we're all mates. There's no scrutiny. There's absolutely no proper scrutiny. Well, Wayne, like you were kind of terrible. When you were Derby manager, yeah, you did okay, but you were caught in a room with two birds, pissed up. Probably not what you want to be doing as a manager. And you went to DC United, weren't great over there. You got Birmingham relegated. They were talking about, you didn't really, you weren't really given a chance. And now he's got the Plymouth Argyle job, who have just been promoted into the championship. I'm not sure what happened with their manager, actually. Why would you sack the manager? Or maybe he left and went somewhere. I'm not sure what the story was there. And now he's on this podcast. And anyway, I was listening to one of the episodes and I was laughing my arse off when they were talking about when he was on it, and he was talking about players, America, in the MLS, when you get the big name players like Rooney, and they would fly them in first class, and the more kind of ordinary squad players would just stay in the back in economy. And Keano turned around and what was it? Is it Jill? Is it?
Yeah.
She turned around and said, "Oh, I can imagine you and Teddy Sheringham sitting in trying to sit in economy, going mad." And he went, "Oh no, I'd sit in economy, no problem." Absolutely no problem. No problem. Honest to God, now, Jill Wood. Is this the same Roy Keane who kicked off at Mick McCarthy about flying in economy class?
No,
No.
So you'll go at me for this for defending Roy, but no, this is where Roy had the problem with the FAI, like dignitaries and the board and stuff sitting in first class, whilst the players who
The
are
leaders.
performing in the pitches, they're performing, trying to get the result for the nation. They're sitting in economy.
Yeah, but
that is wrong. That isn't right.
That is wrong. But I'm just saying, like, he's contradicting himself again, Martin. Just saying. He likes
that's something. I actually remembered this the other day. Someone told me that was something that was didn't go down very well with the women's team. Not to go off on a tangent, but the women, when they travelled to the World Cup, they went in two little groups, and
Yes.
Vera picked basically the starting 11 and brought them in the first group with her travelled in, and then the second kind of subs, backup players went in the second group travelling. But it didn't go down very well that her husband travelled in the first group in first class or business, whatever it was.
So did the second group go in business class as well?
They did, but they
Okay.
did it as because they couldn't accommodate. There wasn't enough business flights, but it
That's
was
fair.
how she divided the squad on that. Don't know.
Do you know what she should have done? She just should have done a lottery.
Yeah, exactly.
Pick the names out of hat.
Or give it to Katie McCabe to have sorted out.
What I would have done there was for morale, because I think that is the sort of thing that would get to you. Little things like that. Like, you're either all in it together, but if you have some sort of division, but what I would have done there was I would have gone to the player and said, right, you got two options. We all go together in normal class. We'll charter a plane out, so we'll just have the plane,
Mm.
or we do 2 groups in business class, but we do a lottery and we split it into 2. And I'm in the lottery as well. I think that could have been good for morale. And even actually, if Vera had it been in the second group, do you know what I mean? Just that kind of thing. Like we're all in it
Yeah,
together,
yeah,
but you do it fairly. And but little thing like when I'd imagine when you're taking a team away, little things, little details can
can impact.
can impact and it can gnaw away at you, especially when you're not overly happy with the manager because she was quite um what's the word, authoritarian, is that
Mm. Yeah,
authoritarian,
yeah,
authoritarian,
yeah.
easy for me to say. But you kind of go, I'll take it because you're being fair. But when you're being unfair, you kind of these little things gnaw away at you. And I mean, that thing was fucking destined to.
Yeah,
That was,
we knew
when
that.
when I
Yeah.
when we were doing a preview of that last year, and I read it into more and more into Vera Power, I thought this is Trapattoni. This is 2012 2.0. And anyway, but yeah, sorry, man. I just always have to dig out your Roy. You see, I'm not doing it because I like doing it. Far from the truth. Which seems to be what some of Roy's statements are. But I just call it as I see it, Martin. That's my
Yeah.
job.
Well, I know that, and I do, that is appreciated, Dave, of course. But like with
Of course
Roy,
it
I
is.
think my point earlier, which was that we also heard that Lee Carsley had been told, like even this is when we were in the Netherlands for
Mm,
the game in Amsterdam. Um, we I was talking to someone there, and they're saying, Carlsey has been offered a job, but he has been told he can't have his own backroom staff, and that's a big thing. And that is a massive thing for a manager to be trusted in the role. I think Heimer has obviously taken it, knowing that FAI want their pathway, want their people in the background, want the kind of continuity plan set by them. That if Heimer goes tomorrow for a bigger job, then you can
mm.
have someone step up who knows the whole thing. I don't know if you would have had that with Carsley. I don't think he was going to accept that,
And also
and a top
move.
manager, I don't know, would do that necessarily.
And in fact, Heimer has moved to Ireland
Yeah,
as
that
well.
was a big
I,
thing as
I
well.
I think that was sort of. I know they kind
And
of
they,
denied
yeah,
that, but that was obviously in the contract. I think you couldn't pick your own backroom staff, and you had to move to the country. But anyway.
and also that probably was something in the background, and the elephant in the room with that is that everybody now involved in Irish football from the top is going to be based in Ireland, because we've
Mm.
obviously Jonathan Hill was no longer involved.
Um, Speaking of being based in Ireland, this is Sports Minister Thomas Byrne. He has been quoted as saying that he wants to be fair to the FAI in regards to funding, but he also wants to be fair to other sports. Just going to read out pretty much what he said here about the money that the FAI are seeking. It's very, very large, and he admits he's unsure that the government will be able to fund League of Ireland academies to the extent the association wishes. I don't have an issue with that personally, because if you're going into a negotiation, you don't go with the figure you want, do you, Martin? You
Mm.
exaggerate it to get maybe back to the figure that you actually want, but you always go in, don't you? You always over elaborate on that. Byrne acknowledged the FEI are still in a difficult financial position and did say funding for domestic academies will be looked at by his department, which is good, as well as praising the association's new football pathways plan. Well done, Mark. But added that any future funding for football must be fair to other sports across the country. Last year, the FAI published their facility investment strategy, which sought €863 million to fund 2,500 infrastructure projects over the next 15 years, with the money coming from the association itself. Football stakeholders, such as UEFA, the government, and private investors. Just very quickly on that, I don't have an issue with them doing that, by the way, because you got to put a figure on it, right? You got to turn around and say, yeah, we need money.
Just to come in on this, because it was something I've thought about in the last few weeks, really looking at the funding of sports in Ireland. And obviously I'm judging and reading a lot about it from obviously Thomas Burns coming out and talking about what the government will put into things. We've also just had the Olympic Games. Now I know it's not for everybody there, but the funding of the Olympics is obviously, that's why it's been asked. He's obviously over there, I'm not going to knock him. I don't know the guy, but like, he's jumping on the bandwagon, which we all do around the Olympics. Yeah. Most people wouldn't
Mm.
know half the Olympians walking down the street past them until they perform well in the Olympics, and then they, their national heroes and stuff, which is fantastic to see, and it does inspire the next generation, and I'm really happy about that. And also trying multiple sports is incredible. So it's great again that it galvanized the country, but this comes back to then the funding of the game. And I was quite kind of critical of, the GAA had their kind of house in order in Ireland. They obviously get a lot of money, ridiculous amount of money, but they're in every parish and stuff. They kind of
And they're
self-support
also
each other in a
voluntary,
sense. They're
mostly
very
voluntary.
voluntary, but they kind of push in, everywhere you drive around Ireland, the local GAA lotto's in place. And it's so important that you have support of funding and sponsorship and things like that, and money does obviously make the world go around. It's a fact of it. If you want to have good facilities, you need investment in it. But in comparison, so that's why they're talking about the money now, where they're going to increase the money for the next Olympics. I think it's like 25 million to 30 million. It's nothing compared to other sports in Ireland. That's where they've got it wrong. I went to I don't know that. So I'll quote these figures, but I think horse racing in Ireland is a massive industry, and I'm a big fan of horse racing, as you know, right? But it's very self-sufficient as well. It's a breeding operation, very kind of cliquey kind of community, but like loads and loads of money generated. You've got the influence of Abu Dhabi and the Arab nations and things like that, because they want to have super horses and things like that. You've got Coolmore, all those kind of factions are in there. But you've got a lot of money in there, but the Irish government really throw loads of money into great horse racing, but then greyhound racing get like 19.5 million or something stupid, right?
I think though a lot of that goes down though to Martin, that they see an investment, they see return on their investment, and I think the problem has been, and we all know we're not breaking new ground here, is that the FAI have a very bad reputation, and that unfortunately they do, and all the way up to Delaney. All the way up to Delaney. There's always been sort of a cloud. There's always been a sort of a question mark about integrity, about maybe the running of the FAI. And, whether it's true or not, that is the perception. And we all know perception becomes reality. And we thought when Hill came in, a nice, boring, administrative, easy for me to say, kingpin, like like Jonathan Hill, just get the basics right, get the spreadsheets right, get all that stuff done. Just show a bit of competent running of a business, shows that you can do that, and then we'll start giving you the money. And that's when the FAI thought they had that, and then they obviously went with the whole, we need €500 million, please, because I think they need €500 million from the government, and then they get the rest from UEFA and hopefully from themselves. But the problem is then when he goes up to the PAC in February, that is in previous episodes, you can find it. It's hilarious if it wasn't so sad. And basically, they had the whole holiday debacle, which he's now gone from the association. And it's just set us back again. I think that's the problem. I know, like, all the funding, it is disproportionate considering football is the biggest it's the biggest sport on the planet, biggest sport in the country. But there has to be good faith there, and the FAI. I'm hoping now that they're going to turn the corner, and the next guy comes in will start that work. But they have to build that goodwill. They're in the negative, and they have to build a goodwill up where the government can say, "We could trust you £500 million." Like, don't get me wrong.
Look, we know that this, but we know about the trustings and the FAI and stuff. But there's got to be probably more kind of support from the Irish football communities in a way to say we need government money. Like, there's got to be more calling out of the fact that it is disproportionate, this money. Like, okay, you can say the FAI wasted loads of money and you give it to them, but it is just ridiculous. Like, just forget football for a minute. If you look at the Olympics, they're all focused in Ireland about that at the moment now. The Olympic funding was like 10 million or something, right? A greyhound racing got 19 million. That cannot. How is that right? Like, so I'm going to base this on then the experiences, right? So obviously everyone's happy with the Olympics, right? Everyone does well wherever it was, national pride and everything. Everyone gets behind it and everyone knows the names. But greyhound racing, I don't know enough about it, but I went greyhound racing when I was in Ireland. Okay, on a Monday night in a Scotty dog track. Probably the people who went to it, I'd say there was less than 200 people at it. Okay, so that's a greyhound stadium in Wexford on a Monday night. You're not generating. All right, it might generate jobs. And horse racing does have lots of jobs, right? I don't know. Greyhound racing does it all filter down that money, because a greyhound racing trainer has a dog. They buy dogs. They train themselves, but largely you don't have stable staff like you do in horse racing and things. So you don't have to fund that. I just don't know where that money's going in greyhound racing. The Jesus, I'll be locked up for this. In a Scotty dog track, you wouldn't go in there and have a meal. You can't have a meal there. It's an absolute shithole, right? As an experience of going to see something as a sporting event, it was amazing. I was thinking, how does this sport get 19 million?
They're not all like that, but just to come in there, right? And I'm
Yeah.
not a big fan of greyhound race. I used to love it as a kid when I remember I bet my communion money. I actually did in Harold's Cross, Shelburne Park. It was one of those anyway. But
I mean,
no,
at Shelburne Park, I've been there, and that was nice.
To be fair, that is really lovely. I remember when that was a dump before they actually done it up. But anyway, my point being, but like Mullingar, shout out to the Mullingar, massive of the Dunn family. There's a lot of them there. They are bloody massive family. You know, I've been there a few times, and that is actually quite nice. The Mullingar racetrack is quite nice. Food's good. Like that is lovely. That is a lovely spot. So it's not. I get what you're saying, but it's not every greyhound facility. But yeah, I do understand what you're trying to say. Sorry.
Yeah. So my point is though, you can't see where that 90 million. If they get any share of that, where's that going? Is my point.
Yeah,
the 90 million, right?
Well,
but I know other stadiums, so they would work it around stadiums, okay, and the infrastructure, the facilities, and things like that. But you know, as a spectator thing, something to do in Enniscorthy on a Monday night, I don't think anyone touristy is thinking I'll go there for a night, and that's something that you would sell, and that's not obviously bringing anything really to the community or country. I don't think. Whereas the Olympics, people do get behind things, and you can put in running tracks, swimming pools, and things. I mean, back to the Olympics, when we didn't have an Olympic-sized pool, I don't think, in Ireland when Michelle Smith won golds, did we?
That is exactly what. Do you know what? You're a mind reader. Genuinely, we haven't talked about. Like we're going off in a whole range of things here. Yeah. We're riffing here, as he's saying, and see the States. But that was the point I was going to make. When Michelle Smith got her 3 gold and 1 bronze. I know people are saying, "Oh, she was caught cheating." She still has those medals. They stand. It was the World Championships 2 years later that she was done for tampering. But anyway, yes, that was in 1996 in Atlanta. She had. We didn't have an Olympic-sized swimming pool in the country. In fact, we didn't have an Olympic-sized swimming pool in the country until 2002, and that was in the National Aquatic Centre, which was in Blanchardstown. I'm going to
say,
Blanchardstown.
6 years from the Olympics.
Yeah,
to even
but that's
get it.
Ireland. You see,
yeah,
you see countries like America, and you know, obviously the big global powers back in the 80s was the Soviet Union. Now it's China. You know. They're all about national pride, so they put all this money into it, and they just build all these facilities and go, right, we want you to be the best at everything. Where in Ireland, somebody has to almost break the ground to do really, really well out of nowhere for people to go, actually, do you know what? That Michelle Smith there, she's a great swimmer. Why don't we actually give her, now she's won, why don't we give her the facilities that she needs instead of actually giving her the facilities that she needs to send her off? Now, you understand that you can't, a country like Ireland, you can't actually build everything. I get it, because we're a small population. We're just bloody good at a lot of different things. But yeah,
that is the thing. And again, it only comes around every 4 years. But so I feel sorry for like athletes who look. Again, this is relevant as well. A lot of them are training in. They probably are training in Britain because they're competing in Britain probably more than in Ireland. So they're getting the facilities, and that's where again it comes down to our football players as well, where they learn stuff, and it comes down to, I know we haven't chatted about this, but Stephen Kenny was quite scathing as well of the FAI that, you know, they're not doing enough to help academies. Like the Brexit thing, we'll focus on this on another show, of course, but it's more that Brexit hasn't helped us in Ireland to develop footballers because players can't go over now, but there was actually nothing for them to stay for to give them that level of coaching that they would have had in England. That's going to set us back again.
See, where the golden opportunity for us was the Charlton years. Yet again,
and then didn't know how to handle it though.
Right man at the right time. We get a load of second generation Irish players, and we do really well. All of a sudden, interest in the game explodes. It becomes mainstream now. All of a sudden, you know, we've got politicians getting behind it. Charles Haughey is going over to Rome. Of course, you know, official Ireland wouldn't touch football with a barge pole, with a 10-foot barge pole, and all of a sudden they're in on it. That was when you start. That's when you go to the likes of Bertie, and that was when, or not Bertie. We know what happened with Bertie pole, but that's when you go to someone like Charles Haughey. Now, obviously, the money wasn't quite there, But that's where you start to build those connections and go, listen, we need a decent stadium. We need decent facilities. It was just, it's grand. It's working. And the League of Ireland, you see footage of the League of Ireland from the early 90s and the late 80s. And it looks like they're playing in Moorfield Park, where I used to play football, like next to the school. Like just just two goalposts. And it's a shambles. It's really bad. We'll continue actually just with what the minister has to say. And actually he does touch on the academies. And then we're going to wrap this up. Just on League of Ireland Academies, he says, we will do something on League of Ireland Academies. There are lots of ideas there. The FAI, don't forget, they're asking for a renewal of the Memorandum of Understanding, so the Mercy funding to be renewed, says Byrne. He's speaking at Croke Park, actually. I've just given the go-ahead for some of the money to be given to allow them to continue day-to-day operations. The association is still in a difficult position. We want to support for the reform. So just there we go. Like, here's the FAI, and they need money to just keep going. Yeah. Like, never mind build and shiny new, whatever. They need money to just keep going. And by the way, I did say it earlier, and I just want to be very clear. I'm not saying that if they did get these funds, they did get these grants and things, that they wouldn't use them properly right now. It's the perception is there amongst the public and clearly the government that they wouldn't. But I think they would, actually, because I think the checks and balances are there now for them to actually be scrutinized and to actually make sure that money goes where it has to go. But anyway, I continue. I've just given a go-ahead. No, I've said that. We want to support the Pathways to Football plan. It's a very important plan and they need to implement it. They brought it forward and they have other requests in for academies. We're considering that. The money they sought is very, very large. We will look to do something on academies where it will be on the level they are looking for. I am not certain, but there are other ideas clubs themselves are already implementing. We've already discussed them with clubs. So to bring forward young talent into the system. We got to make sure it's fair to them, to football, but also fair to every other sport in the country as well. I think that's what the Olympics have shown us. There is a wide range of sports there, a sport for everyone, essentially. And he goes on very quickly about the funding. Be under no illusions. The funding for the FAI over the last number of years was double what they really would have been getting normally, because people in the FAI 10 years ago made different decisions. A pre-spent funding they didn't have. So we will do something. And Sport Ireland are looking at the proposal for the MOU, and I think we'll be going to government in autumn. And then there's all other stuff there. So it's all very positive. I think, the Minister of Sport there, he say what you want about him, but he seems to be very pro. I want to give you money. I think there's actually a few people in the government now. I've kind of changed my stance on it a little bit, that want to give the FAI money. They just want to be able to justify it. And yet again, I'm not saying there's people in there, I'm not saying it piss the money away, but that is just perception. And when people have other interests around the country's different TDs and they want to sort out the local communities like GA and other sports and things, any little mistake, any little window of opportunity to put the boot into football, they're going to do it, aren't they? Because they want that money for not having a go, not mad. That's just politics. We're going to talk a little bit about how some of our boys in green, remember that? Oi big. Well, it's coming back, baby, and it's coming back with a bang. There is going to be a new format of that. It's going to be its own separate program. Basically, it's going to be me sitting in front of the camera and basically telling you how the lads got on over the weekend or in that particular match week. So it's always like a cluster of days. So the 9th to the 12th is this current match day, if that makes sense. And then we'll go to every match day and we'll see how our lads got on, like a cluster, a collection of days. It will be coming out. It will be on the YouTube channel. I'm going to put it on Facebook and a few other bits and pieces, but eventually it's going to be exclusively on YouTube because we are trying to grow that at the moment. But we're not going to go through every single player, just a few highlights of it. The full show will be out later on tonight. But Martin, are you ready for a little bit of Oi Big?
Yes, I am, Dave. Can't wait.
I bet you can't. Here we go. Yeah. Do you like it, Martin?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, the boys are in green. There you go. Just 4 players. We're going to do 4 players here, but tonight it'll be the entire squad and a couple of fringe players, and we'll tell you how they got on. A few pre-season matches going on, some very interesting bits and pieces. Of course, the only place to start is this man here, Sammy Smolix, the 28-year-old. He scored, of course he did, and he got an assist in a 4-2 win over Derby in their first game. That was on Friday night, my birthday, in fact.
We did offer you lots of hearty congratulations, Dave. It's great fun as well, hearing from the viewers as well. Wishing you happy.
That was
birthday
actually
as well.
very nice. I actually didn't put you up to that. I was very. Oh, hello. What? Why is
Are
there
you
a
trying to
picture of
say
me?
other people within the podcast kind of community kind of post stuff and then like their own things? Is that what you're trying to say happens, or that we
I
put
am
these
trying to say that. Yes,
manufactured love?
Yeah, I did not do that. I was very surprised to see that, but thank you very much, Martin. It was very much appreciated. But there you go. Yeah, Sammy Smonix. He got his goal and assist in a 4-2 win over Derby. He didn't start that game, actually, and I think John Eustace. Apparently, he's linked with Ipswich Town. Martin, is he?
Yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah, he's a bit unhappy. Eustace. I think he either wanted him committed or gone, because I'm sure he could do with that few quid if Venky's want to give him a few bob. That is. Our captain, our leader, Seamus Coleman, was injured. He was taken off after 32 minutes in a 1-1 draw with Roma. So we're kind of worried there. We're not too sure what's happening there with that, whether he'd be ready for the weekend or not. But Seamus Coleman has been injured. Mikey Johnston as well, another player that was injured, or Michael Johnston, as he's called on the app, but we're going to call him Mikey. Should call him Mickey, really. But he played for 20 minutes against Hibs yesterday in a 2-0 win. He was taken off as a precaution, Brendan Rodgers has said. He was a bit dazed, so we need to, hopefully he's not concussed and he's not in too bad a shape there. And Jamie McGrath, to be fair, he's doing well. There he is there. Full 90 minutes against St. Mirren. He got another goal and an assist. I think that's the second goal he's got, or he's got a couple in his first game there. So there you go. That's just a little taster. That's basically what our boys in green is going to look like. The full show to preview there, Martin. Are you happy, Martin?
Yeah, I like it, Dave. That's good.
Thank you. I bet you are happy, Martin. We've gone long. We haven't seen each other for a week, and you got to talk about Roy Keane, and you got to itch that Keano, or you got to scratch that Keano itch, haven't you?
Yeah.
Show your undying love for him.
Yeah.
Even growing a beard like him too.
I am.
Pathetic. Right, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much, as always, for watching and for following the page. And if you haven't already, do hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. It means a great deal to us. Do scan the QR code, head over to our Facebook, Instagram, and our Twitter. And if you want opinion, head over to lansandroar.ie. That is lansandroar.ie. Right, will we be back in a few days? We're going to do a little preview, Martin, of the Premier League.
Yep, we're going to have a chat about the upcoming game. Well, upcoming season, really. Give some predictions. Because I did like your solo show during the week, Dave, where you did correctly credit me for saying that Vincent Kompany would move on and get a bigger job. May not have happened at Burnley, but I said that's how these managers work.
Get them relegated, get a big job.
It still doesn't matter. So
outrageous.
Very nice to get that credit from you, Dave. Yes. And I notice you only ever praise me when I'm not on the show.
Well, yeah, can you blame me, Martin? To be fair, like Jesus, you're bad enough to deal with as it is. Right, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much. We will be back in a couple of days' time. We're going to try and get back into the regular calendar, as if in most Mondays, most Fridays, and a cheeky live in between those on the Wednesday or whatever. That's kind of like a loose calendar. We try. That's what we try to stick to, but don't hold us to it. And of course, when the squad is announced, we're thinking around the 24th of August. We will get those. We will get that confirmed by the FAI, and we will do a cheeky live for a squad reaction because we want to get your reaction to that because we are the voice of the fans. We want you to have your say as always. And then, of course, Martin, we are going to be over in Dublin for the England game and the Greece game, and basically through the whole Nations League. And we're going to be doing our usual live, broadcast from the ground. Now, right, let's leave it there. I'm David Dunn. He's Martin Prendergast. This is Lance and Moore, and we are out of here. Look after yourself.